Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to give you guys a full fish room tour of all of my aquariums and little glasses, and we'll start with this tank. This is my largest tank at the moment. It is a 63 gallon, 240 liter aquarium. It's heavily planted, as you guys can see, and anyone who's been following this channel for a while will be familiar with this tank. On the left hand side you can see our most recent addition to this tank, which is the kuhli loach, or rather the black kuhli loach. Two of them are swimming right there. You can see they are just doing their thing. They are hyperactive compared to other kuhli loaches I've heard about from the internet, and I just love them. Kuhli loaches are not the only animal we have. We have ember tetras, as you can see here. These guys were already fed today, but I think they get more food, which they will in a minute. And we have, of course, our endlers life bearers that are hyperactive here. Let's check out some of these guys. These are all male endlers life bearers, and we also have some normal guppy fish in there. And I'll show you guys in a minute all of them. Here's a beautiful guppy female. And the goal of this tank, really, it's in the middle of my living room. Let me just stand up again. It is in the middle of my living room, and as you can see, there's the kitchen, the living room and everything, and it's supposed to be like a part of the let's say home design or interior, so to say. So it's supposed to look very nice, and although it's a dirty tank, I still try to keep it as clean as possible. And I've got some new plants in there. Let me just sit down real quick, so it's a little easier for me to talk while I'm showing you these animals. I got many plants in this tank. So mainly in the back we have the vallisneria australis gigantea plants, which are these giants in the back here. We have vallisneria spiralis tigers, which are here on the left hand side. Both of these plants have done really well in the last, let's say, 1 year of keeping this tank, and at the beginning when I set up this tank, the plant that did best were these hygrophila corymbosa stricta plants here. You can see them in the middle. They are still doing relatively well, I would say, but they did way better at the beginning. And if you open the lid, and now all of the fish will turn crazy, you will see that they even grow out of the tank a little bit here. But other than this one plant, they are not doing that great, and I don't really know why. Another plant that hasn't done super well is the Anubias baterinana plant. You can see them here. If I zoom in a little bit. So their newest leaves look decent, I would say, but you can see that the plant is not thriving. Like, it's nothing compared to the limnophilia plants that we have here, or even the newest addition in terms of plants, the Ludwigia glandulosa plants that we have here. And I just want to take some time and show you some of the beautiful guppies that we have. All of them are bred by myself, so I haven't bought a single guppy fish in at least 5 years, I would say. So all of the guppy fish that you see in there are bred in this tank, or in the tank they were before, but this was also my tank. So let's have a look at these guys here. These are some of the juveniles, as you can see. And they know, since I'm right in front of the tank, they know that they will be fed in a minute. And here you can see one of these beautiful endlers just displaying the typical breeding behavior, let's say, or sexual behavior, mating behavior, that was the word that I was looking for. Here we have guppy goopbird. This is one of the guppy fish, one of the just regular guppy fish that I have in this tank, who was attacked by one of my Mexican dwarf crayfish a few months ago, and it ate almost its entire tail, but the fish still is doing super well. As you can see, it's difficult to follow because he's disappearing in this vallisneria forest back there. But as you can see, that the tail in the middle is still, there's a cut in it and it probably won't grow back until this guppy dies, but he could still live at least another year, I would say. He's roughly 2 years old now, 1.5, 2 years, and he's super healthy again. I was worried that maybe he would die because I separated the crayfish and the guppy back then, but as you can see, he's doing super fine. Also, these guppies, they are a little more difficult to film because they are so fast, but if you look at them closely, they are absolutely beautiful. Here's another regular guppy male and some of the endlers life bearers here. Let me try and zoom in a little bit here. Yeah, there we have one. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful fish. So what else? In this tank I have a huge amount of hardscape. So I have these limestones here and there, and I have a lot of like roots and other rocks that are there. But most of the plants are mostly so thick that they cover almost all of the hardscape, which is super nice, but you cannot really see the hardscape anymore. Maybe in the future I'll build a tank with less plants and more hardscape, because hardscape itself is also beautiful, but this is something that I will do in the future. Here's also one guppy female that suffers from inbreeding depression. You can see its spine is completely cracked, or not cracked, but you know what I mean, like woven, I would say. Still reached adulthood, which is quite surprising, but this is one of the reasons why I added these kuhli loaches, who are usually or often snacking on the guppy fry, because they most likely will eat smaller guppy fry, and by that keep those in control that are, let's say, disabled or that have like these inbreeding deficiencies that are quite natural in guppy populations when they are relatively small. But most other ones, like these typical guppy females here, they look very healthy, which I really like. Also, you have these red racer Nerite snails here. There's one of them just feeding on the algae and on the biofilm that is accumulating on this limestone here. And another kind of hygrophila, not Hygrophila corymbosa, but another kind of hygrophila plant species, and loads and loads of cryptocorynes. So here we have the cryptocoryne undulata over there as well, and this is another cryptocoryne undulata, and here we have Lobelia cardinalis plants that are just ideal foreground plants, I would say. And let's zoom in a little bit because there's lots guppy action going on there. And they are easy to maintain, these Lobelia cardinalis plants. What I also like about these guppy fish is that they have these little white spots on their tails. Maybe we can start a breeding project where we get more of these white spots on more guppy or endlers life bearers males, because these white spots are just beautiful. If you look at them in the light, amazing. We also have Amano shrimp in this tank, but they are, at the moment, they are hiding. Maybe we can get them out of the tank with some fish food. So I've prepared this already. There was a fly. If you have flies in your flat and you can catch them, guppies love this. Guppies and endless life bearers, they are insectivores, so they will devour any kind of fly or anything. You can see that they are hungry, although I already fed them today. Did a live stream this morning, and they still, the food doesn't even reach the bottom. Like, These fish are so hungry all the time, and I just love it. Also the ember tetras are adding to the mix like perfect, and you can see the whole tank is alive already. Beautiful. And I know I may sound like a broken record, but these fish, when they are so active, they look like little piranhas, although they don't eat, like they would eat meat, of course, but they are not like carnivores, right? They are omnivorous, or insectivores, rather. But I think they are still like little piranhas. And the loaches, they look a little bit like sharks, and I love how they are sifting through the plants and through the sand here. Just amazing fish. Yeah, get them a little closer. Yeah, beautiful. Really, I encourage you guys to get into loaches. They are cool. And there's another cool inhabitant of this tank, which is the zebra Nerite snail and the kuhli loach again. But enough of this tank. Let's check out the next tank in this room. So this is my actual like fish room, or soon to be fish room. I've got this rack here, or this heavy duty shelf rather. And as you can see, it's still pretty empty. I have some future project stuff and electricity down there. But these are the only two tanks I have at the moment set up. There's another tank. As you can see, it's empty. I had the paludarium project in there. Didn't work out so well, but I will do something with this in the future, like a future project. This is sort of like an abandoned project where I just throw in all of the plants that I have left over, both land plants like this ivory and the monstera here, but also, or this pothos plant, but also water plants like loads of cryptocorynes. But I'm not really actively doing anything with it. I add some water sometimes, so when I need the plants, I can use them in another scape, but this is not really an active tank at the moment. This is my fish bowl. I will talk about it later. There's lots of insects in there, and then we have the shrimp tank. And here I want to add a shallow water tank, or maybe some more bowls in the future. And down there I want to add another tank this size. Probably this tank will go there. And these are rather future projects, but it's September 2025, so we're talking about the only tanks I have at the moment, and this is my other major tank at this moment. So this is a Neocaridina breeding setup, I would say. Now, I also aimed for a rather pretty look with this tank. If it was breeding tank only, I wouldn't use gravel or sand, I wouldn't use plants, I wouldn't use rocks, hardscape. It's all not super necessary, but I want to create like a natural looking enclosure for the shrimp. And also for me, because I'm working in this room here all the time, and I want to have a cool aquarium to look during my breaks, during the lunch break and stuff, or when I drink a coffee, or on the weekend also. So I created a rather pretty and lush looking environment for the shrimp here as well, but I'm heavily overfeeding them at the moment, so they start breeding, and I got them like 5 weeks ago. You can check out the video on the top right, in which I explain how I set up this cherry shrimp and chocolate shrimp tank. And so far I think there's 1 or 2 berry females in there, and also these beautiful snails here. Maybe we can zoom in a little. So this is it's difficult to hold the camera still, but I'll manage in a moment. So this is a Melanoides tuberculata snail, and here we have one of the shrimp. Nice, pretty nice, yes. And it's just sifting through the sand and through the soil. And in the back you can see the thick biofilm that has accumulated over these last few days. And maybe if we skim through this tank, we can even see a tiny shrimp, or at least a pregnant shrimp mom. which has eggs. There's one. Yes. One of the chocolate shrimps. So usually when they are pregnant, they are hiding, which is logical because they try to hide from predators or potential predators and other threats. But sometimes I see them and I know for sure that she's pregnant. Maybe we can go over here, check out more shrimp. There's a bladder snail. It's also one of my favorite aquatic animals. Bladder snails are amazing. Where are the other shrimps? There's another one. This one is obviously a male. I think male cherry shrimp. Beautiful, but since it is a male, probably won't have any eggs on it. And I hope I got enough females in this tank, because so far I've seen loads and loads of males, but not that many females actually. Let me just get a chair so it's easier for me to show you guys these shrimp. Maybe we can zoom in a little more to this one. As I said, I think this is one of the buried females. It's a chocolate shrimp, and chocolate shrimp are also one of the many Neocaridina species, or races rather, and they just look really stunning and amazing. And here we have these Ludwigia glandulosa plants, the small red leaves there. Oh, beautiful. Maybe we can check out in the meantime this other little scape that I have here. And I'm sure you guys have seen this already. So this is my insect bowl that I used to put in some pond plants. So some buckbean and this other kind of sword form, shape, whatever, aquatic plant, and the buckbean. And this looks pretty cool, and also helps to create like a natural food source, because all of these plants, they're older leaves, they rot, and they create a food source for the food web, for the whole, like, I don't know how to say, microfauna in this tank. And you can see everything is moving in there when you zoom in. Like when you zoom out, you can't see anything, but when you zoom in, you can see little black eggs here. So these black dots are eggs from some kind of animal, insect, whatever. You can see these little dots here moving, which are probably small daphnia. Wait, let me zoom in again. And then if we maybe flip it around a little bit, then we can also usually see larger animals moving. And this is quite an amazing micro world. Also, I added a plant leaf from another tank a few days ago, and you can see that this whole ecosystem is pretty hungry, I would say. So you can see the huge holes in this plant leaf that's just wobbling around and being devoured by all kinds of tiny animals here. Here you can see these little, I think these are crustaceans. No clue what they are. Probably some plankton. And here is a scud. Cool. I wasn't sure that we caught scuds, but now here's the proof that we got some, which is amazing. I've actually never kept scuds, so I would be interested in hearing anyone who has tips on how to keep them. Maybe also how to feed them and how to breed them. This would be highly appreciated. So feeding, I think, since it is already munching on this little plant leaf here, I will just add more and more of these plant leaves in there, because I have a huge overproduction of these in my other tanks, like this one here for instance. And I think this is either a cryptocoryne leaf or a leaf from another plant. And this was always one of my goals to one day have little scuds in one of my tanks, and we have one here. Look how cool this looks. No clue where this came from, because in the last video that I posted about this bowl there weren't any scuds, and now we have one. How freaking cool is that, guys? Super cool. Maybe we can also see some more animals over there. Yeah, the usual suspects, the bladder snails, I would say. We have beautiful bladder snails, and also some jumping motion. Ah yeah, there's another bladder snail. And I think this is an aquatic springtail. The one that we see here right next to the bladder snail might be an aquatic springtail. Definitely some kind of crustacean or insect or something. No clue. Maybe also we can see some animal on the surface, because we had water striders in there, but I think they are not that long-lived. And now also we have duckweed in there. Yeah, a little bug. Don't know what it is. Interesting. Ah, and there we have a mayfly nymph. Or two mayfly nymphs, rather. Yeah, I just love this kind of bowl ecosystems and resurrection jars and all of these kind of micro worlds that you could spend hours on just looking at them and losing yourself in this little tiny world. I wonder what this is. Maybe an ostracod or something. Also, I definitely need a better camera. If I had a better camera with a higher resolution, I could make even better videos here. But at the moment I have to use my phone camera. So anyways, guys, these were all the aquatic ecosystems. I have another glass ecosystem that I had set up 1 year ago. You can check it out on the bottom right, on the top right, sorry. This was my Scud Glass that I set up, but nothing has really survived except for some bladder snails, I think, and of course duckweed, the hardiest species there are. And if you look closely, there's still some movement going on in there. Maybe if we move it around a little bit, we'll see some animals. Yes. I think these are daphnia. It's actually quite a lot of animals. Surprised. Positive surprise. Super cool. And then I have some plants also, just house plants, some lemon culture, like little orange trees that are growing in there. And this was actually the first glass that I ever filmed for this channel, I think. This was my Nerite Glass, and I still keep some hygrophila corymbosa stricta in there and some ginger, and I've never opened this glass since I think at least a year. And these ecosystems are also quite interesting. It's difficult to film in there because the glass is so dirty, but probably we can also see something moving in there. If we just zoom in. We can't, fortunately. But this is my fish room, some empty, soon to be projects. And if you like this video, I would highly recommend you to like and subscribe this channel. And I'm sure you would also like this video here, where I introduced these insects into this aquatic insect bowl, or the video on the right hand side, which is the last video that I added to my channel. Thanks for watching.